The moment the plane doors opened, whispers rippled through first-class, whispers aimed at one man, who hadn't said a word. A black traveler, calm and composed, sat quietly as a white passenger 2 seats away, complained loudly that someone like him didn't belong up front. Attendants hesitated, passengers stared, and tension spread like wildfire through the cabin. What none of them knew, what the complaining woman was seconds away from discovering, was that the very man she tried to belittle was about to be greeted with a level of respect she could never demand, because this was no ordinary passenger. Watch until the end. Wait a second. Let us know where you are watching from in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this. One day Air Miles wasn't used to being noticed. Despite being one of the nation's most respected trauma surgeons, he lived quietly, preferring anonymity over recognition. His life revolved around long shifts, emergency calls, and moments of grief that lingered long after he returned home. Saving lives wasn't a job to him, it was a calling, one that demanded more than sleep or comfort ever could. He boarded the flight with a tired calm. His clothes were simple, a dark hoodie, comfortable jeans, worn-out sneakers. Nothing about his look screamed first class. And that was precisely how he preferred it. His success wasn't measured by what he wore, it was carved in the lives he had saved, the families he had comforted, and the countless nights he had gone without rest. This flight was supposed to be a break from chaos, and 20 straight hours in the operating room had left him mentally drained. He had saved 10 lives in one night after a highway pileup overwhelmed the city hospital. His team begged him to rest, and for once he listened, but the peace he expected never came, because sometimes the world didn't wait for your exhaustion to fade before testing your strength again. It began even before takeoff. A white woman, impeccably dressed and visibly self-important, took her seat across the aisle. The moment she noticed Aaron, her expression tightened as if his presence was an inconvenience. She stared at him with the look people reserve for trespassers, not fellow travelers. Soon her discomfort morphed into open hostility. She leaned toward the flight attendant, lowering her voice but ensuring others could still hear. "I need to make sure first class is secure," she claimed. "I didn't pay for surprises." The attendant frowned, unsure what she meant. The woman nodded toward Aaron. "Him," she whispered sharply. "Are you sure Hayes supposed to be here?" The air stiffened. People looked up. A few shifted uncomfortably. Some avoided eye contact, pretending they didn't hear. Others watched with thinly veiled curiosity. Aaron, exhausted and half asleep, didn't react. He had learned over the years that reacting only fed the fire, but that didn't make the sting any less. Minutes later, she pressed her call button again. This time louder and more demanding. "I don't feel comfortable," she insisted. "I want someone to check his ticket. I don't understand why certain people are allowed up here." The words hung heavy. The attendant politely declined, explaining that every passenger had already been cleared. The woman scoffed. During takeoff, she continued her campaign, complaining about the way Aaron adjusted his seat, criticizing where he put his bag, and even muttering about lower standards. Nowadays, passengers exchanged uneasy glances halfway through. The flight turbulence struck. It was light, nothing unusual. But she seized the moment to escalate her accusations. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "I'm sure the pilot is distracted dealing with issues up here." She glared at Aaron as if he controlled the plane himself. He remained silent, but inside him something cracked, not anger, but a familiar sadness. A reminder that no matter how many lives he saved, no matter how many families thanked him through tears in some eyes, he would always be reduced to the color of his skin. Still he breathed, still he stayed calm. Still he chose dignity in the face of disrespect. But fate had its own timing. And the moment the plane landed, the truth began to raise. The woman practically raced out of her seat the instant the plane reached the gate. She wasn't just eager, she was bursting with determination to file her complaints. She muttered about standards dropping, people sneaking into first class, and lack of proper screening. Her confidence was intoxicating to her, but confidence built on prejudice always crumbles the fastest. As she stepped into the jet bridge, ready to unleash her rehearsed speech, she froze. A line of people stood there, hospital staff, still in scrubs, administrators holding folders, security personnel standing respectfully. But they weren't there for her. Every eye lifted the moment Aaron stepped off the plane. And suddenly everything changed. The hallway filled with applause, warm, genuine, robust applause that Echoed through the jet bridge. Nurses rushed forward with grateful smiles. Doctors stepped aside to give him space. Administrators nodded respectfully. Even airport staff stood tall, acknowledging the man they had been waiting for. The complaining woman blinked rapidly, confusion morphing into shock. She stepped aside as someone announced loudly, "That's him, Dr. Miles. The surgeon who saved all 10 victims last night." Passengers from the plane gasped. Some covered their mouths, others looked at the woman with a mix of pity and disbelief. She shrank into the corner as she realized her arrogance had collided with truth. The man she accused of not belonging was the very reason 10 families still had their loved ones. The woman didn't speak. Again, she didn't apologize. She stood there frozen in her own silence as the people she assumed would support her ignored her entirely. Aaron didn't look at her. He didn't have to. His dignity spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. He greeted each nurse, each doctor, each staff member who had come to thank him. Some hugged him, others shook his hand, and many whispered their gratitude. His exhaustion was visible, but so was the quiet pride in knowing his work mattered. Passengers walked by with newfound humility. Some nodded respectfully, others murmured soft apologies, and the woman, she watched helplessly as the world embraced the man she had tried to diminish, realizing too late that prejudice had blinded her to greatness. This wasn't just about a flight. It was a mirror held up to society, a reminder of how easily people judge, how quickly assumptions become accusations, and how often the world misidentifies greatness when it isn't wrapped in the package they expect. Aaron walked away surrounded by those who knew his worth, and she walked away alone with the truth. Sometimes the people you look down on are the ones saving the world while you are busy tearing it down. Which country and city are you watching from? Take care.